Hello everybody. This video I'm going to do will be a series of videos I'm going to upload about reviewing movies. So let's get the video started, shall we? Welcome to my review of the very first Hammer horror film, Curse of Frankenstein. This movie was starring Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee, and it was directed by Terence Fisher. And as you know, Hammer created some classic horror films in the in the start of their reign. And if you remember the the old Universal horror films we used to have, the Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, well, along came Hammer. And this movie, The Curse of Frankenstein, started it all off. This movie, The Curse of Frankenstein, was made in 1957. And like I've said, it starred Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. Peter Cushing played the part of Baron Frankenstein, who had an obsession with creating life. And of course, you know how he used to create his creature, his monster, from other, well, dead, deceased people, body parts. And that's how he created his monster, Frankenstein's monster. He used to get other body parts from deceased people and try and create his own, create life. And you know what Baron Frankenstein was like? He was obsessed with it. Well, like I've said, he created a monster in the form of Christopher Lee. Christopher Lee, of course, played the part of the Frankenstein's monster, or the creature, as it's called in this one. And of course, we all know what happens. The creature was got out of control, and it had a will of its own. And of course, it escaped and created horror, unimaginable horror. And of course, there was a lot of incidents involving the creature, and the locals, the villagers, were none too pleased, and they tried to hunt it down, and they thought they killed it. Well, they was wrong. Baron Frankenstein then started to bring it back to life. Baron Frankenstein used to create life out of, like I've said, deceased people. And of course, like all creations, in the end, they turn on their masters. And this is what happened in The Curse of Frankenstein. Like I've said at the beginning of the video, this was the first true Hammer horror film to to tend to create a really lot of horror films, which Hammer did in their reign, like they did. Now, after this one, after The Curse of Frankenstein, we had the other classic horror creature, Dracula. That'll be my next review. But it carried on. Hammer had a great track record of creating horror films that at the time were frighten the life out of people who went to see them. This one, The Curse of Frankenstein, was the first one made in 1957, like I've said, with Peter Cushing, who uh, who went on to be one of our great actors. He appeared in many films and different television series in the past. And of course, he gave one of his best performances as the Baron Frankenstein in The Curse of Frankenstein. If you've seen the movie, there are two versions on the Blu-ray release. The never be seen version of the Blu-ray and the main feature, which is another version which has never been released, which is something to behold. And everybody who is an horror fan should really see these old Hammer films, the earlier Hammer films, and see what true horror was like. If you're an horror fan, which I dare say a lot of people are, you'll still love these films, the Hammer films. I first got into the Hammer films in the 1970s. It was the late 70s, about 1975. I used to be on TV late at night, and they used to show them, and that's what got me interested in Hammer and all the other horror films that were to follow. This one, Curse of Frankenstein, set the standard for all horror films to follow. This one, this The Curse of Frankenstein was made in 1957. Well, you can tell how old it is. It's 68 years old. Like I've said, people who went to see for the first time must have been really scared to see a film like this. I mean, we had, like I've said, we had the old Universal horror films, didn't we? Way back in the 1940s, the old Frankenstein films, and starring Boris Karloff and Dracula, the Wolfman. But Hammer came along and set the standard for future horror films, which everybody still enjoys now. They us- these these Hammer films are probably tame by today's standards of films, but for the time they were something new and fresh approach to horror. Well, anyway, that's the end of my review of The Curse of Frankenstein. Like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you can, and I'll make another review next Sunday. I'll see you then.